Night 14, and Kurtjar is back from their tribal council. Ryan and Telly chat alone at the table as they talk about the series of events at tribal. Telly is in disbelief that Nicola would even try to vote her out. Ryan agrees and says he expected Josie to flip on him more than Nicola flipping on her. He says that either way, the two of them are now the majority against Nicola. She made her own bed because the two of them have more of a reason to get her out. Telly agrees and says she cannot trust her anymore. All the while, Nicola sits alone by the campfire, unsure how to get herself out of this sticky situation. It sucks that Josie didn't catch on that they needed to vote Telly. She regrets flipping in the first place because she probably lost all of her trust with Telly. Kunjan, Kiana, Divin, and Caleb are all by the fire. Kiana then asks Divin why he seems so upset all of a sudden, and Divin shrugs and gives her a sassy look. He tells her he feels like she's purposely giving him sly looks since the swap. Kiana squints, confused by this accusation towards her. She denies ever giving him sly looks, but he obviously doesn't believe her. Kiana tells him to chill out because his paranoia is getting to him, but this ticks him off even more, telling her that he's smarter than she's treating him. Kiana decides to end their argument here before it escalates. Later on, Divin, Caleb, Clever, and Rokio chat about whether there will be another swap or not. Caleb thinks there will be, and Rokio of course says he hopes there is one. Divin then comments that he doesn't want a swap because he truthfully wants to throw the next challenge and just vote Kiana out. He's sick of her attitude around camp. Everyone is confused by this, and Clever of course says they aren't throwing anything. Divin takes back what he said and says his emotions are getting to him, fully regretting saying what he said now. On Kunjan, Neil talks to B. Marie about how much crap Brooke has talked about her. B. Marie is baffled by how annoyed Brooke is. She doesn't understand why. She's not trying to treat her any differently from other people, yet Brooke still finds her annoying. Neil says she's out of control at this point, so they need her out before merge. B. Marie says there's no question that she'll go next. She's too much work for them and she'll likely flip on them. As the sun slowly rises, Brooke decides to physically attack B. Marie, causing a big scene. Cindy and Allison watch from the sidelines as Brooke and B. Marie hit each other. Production steps in, telling them to stop, so they do. Both of them are injured, which pisses Cindy off because they need to be strong in these next challenges. B. Marie spits out a line of swear words about Brooke in reaction to her attacking her. Brooke says she's sick of B. Marie running around camp like she owns the place. She wanted her to get a taste of her own medicine. B. Marie cannot believe what Brooke is saying, but Allison de-escalates the situation by pulling B. Marie away from Brooke. It's day 15, and it's time for the reward challenge. Everyone finds out Josie was last voted out from Kurtjar. Justin asks Telly if last night was an easy night to sleep off, and Telly admits she struggled falling asleep because tribal was not as simple as she expected it to be. Justin asks Nicola if Kurtjar is falling apart now that they have 3 members left, and Nicola says they desperately need a swap or merge because their tribe is close to becoming extinct. Justin then gets on with the reward challenge rules. In this, 2 members will attempt to rip vines apart from each arch. The first of the 2 will work on the first 4 arches. Then, the next person will work on the last 2 arches. Once the final set is complete, the 3rd tribe member will begin their section of the challenge, which is throwing a horseshoe and getting the tips of the horseshoe to face the thrower. The first person to land the horseshoe to face them 3 total times will win reward. Justin then reveals that this reward is very special, because it involves a twist. The winning tribe must pick one of the losing tribes to fully disband. This means they will draw rocks to determine what tribe they will join from the other 2. They will be split almost evenly or exactly evenly, depending on the tribe's size. Justin then asks Kunjan to sit 2 and Kunjan to sit 3, so Kunjan sits Caleb and Clever while Okunjan sits Neil, Aaron, and Brooke. For each tribe, the throwers at the second stage are Allison, Ryan, and Kiana. The people on the vines are Cindy and B. Marie for Okunjan, Nicola and Telly for Kurtjar, and Divin and Rokio for Kunjan. The challenge begins and Cindy, Telly, and Rokio head up first for their tribes. Cindy goes mad ripping through her vines, and her and Telly both get through their first row of vines. Cindy gets through her second row of vines, leading for Okunjan. Meanwhile, Rokio struggles ripping his vines, getting tired and taking small breaks at points. He finally rips through his first row of vines and goes ham on the next row. Cindy gets through her third row of vines and is on her last. She easily takes out the final row of vines, allowing B. Marie to go next for the last 2 rows. Telly meanwhile tries her best to rip through the vines, but struggles. She eventually gets through the second row and moves on. B. Marie on the other hand goes up to her first row of vines, trying to rip through them. On the other end, Rokio gets through his second row. Telly gets to the final row of vines, and Rokio quickly catches up to her. B. Marie extends the lead for Okunjan, ripping through her first row of vines. She launches herself into the last one and successfully gets through, allowing Allison to throw her horseshoes for Okunjan. She lands the first horseshoe to face her, giving her tribe a point. Meanwhile, Ryan and Kiana wait for their tribes to finish the vines, but fear they have lost at this point. Allison lands her second horseshoe, needing one more for the win. Telly curses at herself for being so slow, figuring she lost the challenge at this rate. Rokio gives up too, and Allison ends the challenge by scoring the final point, winning reward for Okunjan. That means Okunjan will need to pick one tribe to disband into the other 2 tribes. The 6 of them stand on their mat and already know which tribe they are choosing. Between Kurtjar and Kunjan, they choose to disband Kunjan, meaning 3 of them will end up on one tribe, and the other 2 will end up on the other. They draw rocks for their new tribes and head off to the respective mats. Everyone settles onto their mats, and on the Kurtjar tribe, Kiana, Rokio, and Caleb are new additions to the tribe, while on Okunjan, Divin and Clever are the new additions. Justin tells the 2 tribes to head to camp, so they make their way there. At Okunjan, everyone sits around the fire to say hello to their new members, Divin and Clever. Clever says they are honored to be on such a strong tribe in challenges. Aaron says this tribe is basically getting a free ticket to merge because no other tribe could get on their level of challenge strength. Divin then tells everyone that he'll be open for chats throughout the day, and Clever says the same. Later, Allison chats with Neil, asking him how he feels about Divin and Clever since he knows them from Kunjan. Neil feels iffy about both. Neither of them were really working closely with them, so they'll need to keep them on their radar on this tribe. Allison admits she wished Caleb would come onto this tribe because the 2 of them hit it off great day 1, but that only started to shift when he made the mutiny move, causing the whole tribe to flip on him going forward. However, she still feels like she can work with him and would like to pull in some others to form a solid alliance. That's why she wants to talk to Neil about it. Neil thinks it would be pretty cool if the 2 of them, Kiana and Caleb, worked together as a 4. He feels pretty close to Kiana anyway. Allison likes the sound of this and cannot wait for this merge since they are pretty protected from all angles. Meanwhile, Divin and Clever stand around together, not being approached yet by anyone. Clever thinks they should actively approach people, but Divin tells Clever to wait it out until someone comes to them. Clever doesn't agree and says they want to talk with B. Marie since she was on their tribe before, but Divin tells Clever to stop being an idiot. He tells them to stay put or else he's going to flip on Kunjan in merge. Clever finds this bizarre and claims they will not talk to anyone in that case. Throughout the afternoon, the tribe decides to play tag, which of course frustrates Divin since nobody is approaching him or Clever. On the sidelines, Cindy and B. Marie aren't involved in the current tag game, so both Divin and Clever come to them with Divin finally admitting the 2 of them need to approach others. Divin asks Cindy and B. Marie if they want a chat game, and B. Marie says they surely can. She knows them from old Kunjan anyway. Divin simply wants to know what targets are in mind here, since he's the type of player that would be okay sending anyone home, as long as it's not him. Clever side-eyes Divin because of that sketchy comment, but nevertheless, B. Marie explains that Brooke has been on the bottom the whole season now. They recently got in a physical fight, so that relationship is completely broken now. Divin says that if Brooke is their target, him and Clever are fully down to work with that plan. B. Marie is glad and so is Cindy, so Divin shakes hands with them to confirm Brooke will go home next. Later on, Cindy pulls B. Marie aside, warning her that Divin is a horrible player and ally. B. Marie says they aren't going to work with him. He'll just be used as a number for the Brooke vote, and he'll probably be their split vote if Brooke somehow has another idol. Cindy is glad because she wants nothing to do with Divin. He was really untrustworthy on Season 3 based on what they saw of him, and he clearly did not change his attitude since. He literally said he would vote anyone out, as long as it's not him. Pretty much, he would vote them if the majority wanted them out. B. Marie knows and says he might be an easy first merge boot once they get to that stage. Cindy later goes to Aaron, filling him in on the same stuff about Divin. Aaron says that Divin will never work with them. In fact, he might even be a more tempting vote than Brooke because that lessens old Kunjan's options going into merge. Cindy says no though, claiming that there's no way B. Marie would choose to keep Brooke. Aaron says they'll talk about it more if they lose the next challenge. They really need to keep their options open. On Kurtjar, everyone sits around, chatting about the disband twist. Telly welcomes Kiana, Caleb, and Rokio to their camp, calling it a very depressing one because it has been pretty empty lately. Kiana says she felt really bad for them since they had to go through so many tribals as a small group. Nicola stays quiet for the most part. Caleb then asks Telly how tight her, Ryan, and Nicola are as the last 3 Kurtjar people, and Telly says she would obviously be lying if she said they weren't close. They had to survive 3 tribals together after all. She then asks Caleb the same thing about his tribe, and Caleb says they were all pretty cool with each other. Rokio remains quiet though, not willing to give up any information about his tribe in public. Standing by a push, Caleb smiles at Ryan, telling him it's amazing they could reunite now. Ryan says he's also thrilled to be back together since they haven't seen each other since the mutiny. He does ask though why he mutinied in the first place, and Caleb says it was simply just because he wanted to get to know Kunjan and hopefully get their trust to protect their alliance. He didn't want Brooke to go either since she was the target for them and Josie had immunity at the time. Ryan says he gets it all now and tells him he's really smart for switching tribes like that. Caleb breathes out, glad that nobody found him too suspicious. Nicola chats with Rokio, getting to know him on a personal level. Rokio says that he's so happy he got a second shot at Survivor. He always thought he would never get on again because B. Marie was the main star of Season 2 and he was always her drag-along. Nicola asks him if he still feels a certain way about B. Marie, and Rokio admits he wants her gone as soon as possible. She is a really good manipulator and they haven't gotten the chance to take her out early in the game. Nicola then asks him about Kiana and Caleb, and Rokio says that he actually loves Kiana because she was open to working with him. He's all on his own since the swap anyway after losing Jason. Caleb on the other hand is someone he does not trust. Nicola finds this intriguing and says she did vote Caleb out back in Season 4, so she's always going to be paranoid that he might gun for her sometime soon. Rokio feels like him and Ryan are probably gonna link up, so they'll really need Kiana and Telly to be on board to get Caleb or Ryan out. Telly later joins Caleb and Ryan though, and Ryan says this is a perfect opportunity for them to link up now. Telly smiles and asks Caleb if he's truly down to work with her and Ryan now, and Caleb says absolutely yes. He also thinks Kiana will be on board to work with them. They'll need to take a shot at Rokio most likely, unless they have issues with Nicola. Telly says no right away though and says Nicola will be a good person to have for the merge. Caleb nods and says he's excited to play this game with them. It'll be a really competitive merge, so they need each other in this game. Meanwhile, Kiana chats with Rokio and Nicola, asking them how they feel right now. Rokio tells Kiana he just talked with Nicola about working together on this tribe. Nicola nods, so Kiana asks them if they have a preference for who to go, and Nicola goes on and on about how paranoid she is with Caleb being in the game. He might seek revenge against her because she voted him out in Japan, so she would like him out. Kiana looks at Rokio though and says she actually doesn't think Caleb will go after either of them. He might be more willing to go after Ryan if they persuade him to. Rokio doesn't like the sound of that though and asks Kiana why she feels so good about him, and she says that he's a solid number for them. If Divin was here instead of Caleb, it would be a different story. But they really need solid numbers in this merge, and Ryan is a dangerous threat. She knows how he operates based on his gameplay in Season 3. He's basically playing the same. Nicola looks hesitant, but Rokio immediately jumps on board and says he'll trust her judgment on this. It's night 15, and Nicola pulls Kiana aside, warning her about Ryan. She understands her concerns because he's tight to the hip with Telly. Kiana tells her that they will need to split the two up so Telly is with them. Nicola thinks it would be wise to split between Ryan and Caleb, just in the case Telly uses an idol on him. She leaks that her and Telly had this plan early swap to take Bane out since he had two idols. Kiana is in shock when she hears this, and begins to comprehend why they did that. It essentially means they could snatch the re-hidden idol without anyone else knowing. Nicola says that Telly has it for sure, so if she finds out Ryan is going home, she might save him. Kiana agrees then with this split vote plan, but really hopes Ryan goes before merge. It's day 16, meaning it's time for the immunity challenge. Okunjin returns the immunity statue to Justin. Justin then asks Rokio from Kurtjar how he feels about his new camp, and Rokio says it's a nice change of scenery there. Plus, he somehow managed to live in all 3 camps this season, so that's great for his overall experience here on Survivor. Justin then turns to Okunjin, asking Divin how he feels about this new tribe. Divin admits it's overwhelming meeting new people, but it's part of the game. He feels more comfortable after getting to know each person. With that, Justin explains the rules of this challenge. In this, both tribes must take turns 2 at a time, making a drink at the bar stand and either drinking it or setting it aside before going over to the tree to work on building a tree house. Choosing to drink is tempting, but it may cost the tribe time for the tree house. After 1 minute of their turn though, the 2 must head back to the mat and the next 2 players will go up and do the same. After 1 minute, the last pair will go up and do the same. Once their time is up, the first pair will skip the bar and work on the tree for the remainder of the challenge. The first tribe to finish their treehouse wins immunity. Justin asks Okunjin to sit 2 people out, so they go with Cindy and Clever. The challenge then begins with Caleb and Nicola heading up first for Kurtjar, and Divin and Brooke going up for Okunjin. But Brooke immediately lands her foot on the floor awkwardly, almost injuring her ankle. The 2 pairs start working on their drinks, Divin struggling to even pour his drink into his mixing cup. Brooke finishes her drink first and decides to chug it since she has been thirsty for alcohol for so long. Nicola also finishes mixing her drink a bit after, deciding to drink it as well. Caleb and Divin also finish soon after and feel like drinking their drinks, allowing Brooke to get a head start for her tribe. The 2 tribes then work on the treehouse for the remaining time, and then are finally forced to switch out so the next pair can go. After some mixing, Neil sets his drink on the table and goes straight to working, while Aaron and Rokio choose to drink. After some time, Kiana finally finishes making her drink and chooses to drink it despite Kurtjar falling behind, basically throwing this challenge. She gets to the tree to work on it, but the timer goes off for them to switch out with the next pair. Up next are Telly and Ryan for Kurtjar, and B-Marie and Allison for Okunjan. B-Marie finishes making the drink and is not tempted to drink, instead going for the treehouse right away. Meanwhile, Allison struggles on her drink and Ryan and Telly feel like drinking since their other tribe members did the same. Allison finishes mixing her drink last and decides to drink up since her tribe is leading so far. She later joins in to work on the treehouse with B-Marie, and then the timer goes off for them to switch. For this final switch, Brooke, Divin, Nicola, and Caleb go up for their tribes, being the last people up to finish off their treehouse. So far, Okunjan has a pretty good lead against Kurtjar, but Kurtjar isn't giving up. Nicola and Caleb do solid work as they add more components to the treehouse. Brooke works on adding in the nails for Okunjan's ladder, but finds it really difficult to secure them. Divin and Brooke finally finish their treehouse fully, meaning Okunjan has won immunity yet again. This means Kurtjar will be going back for another tribal council, needing to vote out the 9th player from this game. With that, the tribes make their way back to camps. Back at Kurtjar, Ryan talks with Nicola briefly, letting her know that there's really no bad blood between them and Telly. Him and Telly want her to be looped in on tonight's plan because they still like her. Nicola nods and asks who they were thinking for tonight, and Ryan says that it seems like Rokio is the consensus. Nicola says okay, but Ryan says but. He says he doesn't actually want Rokio to go because that's a very weak target. He actually prefers to send out Caleb because he's a very dangerous player. He told him he mutinied to Kunjan early on to bond with them and gather information for his Okunjan people. Nicola is stunned by this and says she should have seen this coming, knowing how much of a gamer Caleb is. In that case, they both agree it's Caleb tonight. They just need to ensure they have 4 or 5 votes locked in. Kiana chats with Rokio, confirming the plan tonight as being Ryan. Rokio asks about how they will split the vote, and Kiana thinks they can convince Telly to vote Caleb as a target, but instead, that's just a split vote to get rid of Ryan, who is way too close to Telly. Then, they get Nicola to vote Caleb as well, so it's a 3-2-1 vote. Ryan's vote wouldn't matter in that case. Rokio calls Kiana a mastermind because he never would have thought of this. Kiana smiles and says they are playing with a bunch of big names. They need to outplay them in any way possible. Quickly after, Rokio finds Nicola and fills her in on the plan. He tells her to vote Caleb tonight and get Telly on board to do it too. They can't let her know that Ryan is going home. Nicola says she's really nervous about Caleb, but she'll stick to the plan. She asks about where the votes are all going, and Rokio says that Kiana is going to convince Caleb to vote out Ryan to quote-unquote save himself from Ryan wanting him out. It'll be a 3-2-1 vote, with Ryan's vote not really mattering. Nicola nods and thanks Rokio for filling her in. Telly, Ryan, and Caleb chat in the meantime, laughing together about how epic the merge will be. Caleb keeps mentioning how they are surrounded by such iconic names, so things will get real dirty in merge. Telly and Ryan confirm Rokio is going home tonight, and Caleb hugs them. With them talking the whole time, Kiana, Rokio, and Nicola chat, unsure how to pull anyone aside since the other 3 are just sticking together in a group. Kiana is starting to worry that she might not be able to pull Caleb in. Rokio says that they need to do all the work at Tribal then. Nicola comments that this will be way too messy, but Kiana tells Nicola to stick to the plan. They need to ensure Ryan doesn't reconnect with his old tribe in merge. Caleb is less threatening for them. Night 16 hits, and Kurtjar makes it to Tribal Council and sit down. Justin turns to Telly first, asking her how it is to have 3 new tribe members. Telly laughs and says it's basically half the tribe being newcomers, so it's nice to have more company now. Justin then asks Rokio if it has been nice on Kurtjar so far, and Rokio nods. He really got to know Nicola and Telly more, and even got to reconnect with Ryan again. Justin asks Ryan if he's happy to see Caleb and Rokio again, and Ryan says of course. It's always nice to see old tribe members again, especially since they have been pretty chill with each other before the swap happened. Justin then turns to Nicola, asking her if potentially it's back to old tribal lines tonight, that being Kunjin versus Okunjin, but Nicola shakes her head. She feels like everyone is past old tribal lines now. They've had so much time to create new relationships with each other. While Nicola continues answering, Kiana whispers to Caleb, telling him to trust her when she says vote Ryan. Caleb squints and she tells him not to divert if he doesn't want to go home. Ryan sees them whispering though and then whispers into Telly's ear, asking her if she knows why Kiana is whispering to Caleb right now, but she says she's unsure. Nicola stops answering her question as she sees people whispering. Justin also notices the whispering and asks Ryan what's going on, and Ryan says he's really unsure too. Kiana says out loud nothing has changed. She just never got to speak with Caleb since the challenge, so she wanted to confirm things with him. Nicola then whispers to Ryan and Telly, telling them that if either of them have an idol, they need to use it tonight to save Ryan because Caleb wants him out. Ryan is stunned and then immediately tells the two he wants to vote Caleb then. Telly doesn't like this though and says they should just vote Rokio, but Nicola tells her to keep Rokio close to her since they know each other from season 2. Justin asks the group of 3 whispering what's going on, and Telly says her head really hurts just like her last tribal. She's so confused by what's going on, and Kiana tells Telly things are all good. Justin asks the tribe if everything is good, and Ryan says out loud nothing is good because he's really confused now. Everyone turns to Ryan as he says that, and Nicola whispers to him again, telling him to trust her, just like how he told her to trust him and Telly tonight. Justin then says it's time to get to the vote to settle things once and for all.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Telly has decided to use her idol tonight, and she is playing it for Ryan. Any votes for Ryan will not count tonight. I'll read the votes. First vote. Ryan does not count. Ryan does not count. Ryan does not count. Caleb. That's one vote, Caleb. Ninth person voted out of Survivor's second chances. Caleb.
Caleb instantly gets up and Rokio feels really blindsided by what just happened. Kiana remains silent and faces forward to avoid eye contact with Ryan and Telly. Telly meanwhile laughs to herself as she cannot process what just went down, and Nicola smiles after pulling off her move against Caleb. Caleb puts his torch down next to Justin and watches him snuff it. He thanks Justin for this great second chance experience and waves goodbye to his tribe. Telly yells good game to him and Nicola pats Telly's leg, thanking her for trusting her. Justin then tells Kurtjar to head back to camp, so they follow through and leave. Next time on Survivor's Second Chances. After 16 days filled with massive blindsides and betrayals, the tribes finally merge on day 17. The gameplay doesn't stop here, of course, as things ramp up big time with so many alliances reuniting and forming. Which players will be outsiders? Which side of the tribe will come out victorious at the merge vote? It's going to be a long episode with non-stop action this coming Thursday. Caleb's final thoughts. Caleb is really surprised by tonight's vote. Rokio was the original target the whole time leading to tribal council. But then, Kiana told him to vote Ryan because he was voting for him back. Turns out Kiana was telling him the truth, but then Telly pulling out an idol for Ryan just confused him so much. He still doesn't know what went down at camp that he didn't notice. Clearly, Telly and Ryan had plans to vote him out all along and lied to him at camp about voting Rokio out. However, he gives them major props for taking him out. He was going into merge with many allies waiting for him on the other side.